Hello, friends.
Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Lindsay Barnett. Lindsay comes from Chicago. She now is an LA local with me, and she is the CEO of Playground Productions, who you probably know has the games Backyard Sports.
That's right.
And you guys have a lot of sports.
We have a lot of sports. Yeah. Right now we've got backyard baseball up on the screen, playing as we go. But yeah, these are my babies.
These are babies. And this is perfect too. I don't know if you've seen TikTok, but when you watch videos and half of the screen is like a game and the other half of the screen is what's happening because people have such short attention spans.
Yes.
So this is perfect.
Yeah. If they don't think we're interesting, they can just watch the game play in the background.
I love it. So to kick off, I ask everyone this question to start the podcast. Okay. Do you believe in soulmates?
Do I believe in soulmates?
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a rom-com. So,
Perfect. Do you think that Pablo Sanchez believes in soulmates?
Pablo Sanchez absolutely believes in soulmates.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. He's single though, right?
Yes, he's a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not.
Yeah. We'll cut that.
He's in love with baseball. You don't have to cut it.
Perfect.
He's a man of sports.
He's a man of sports.
Yeah.
He's a man of sports. So before we dive in, can you give a quick introduction? Who are you for those who might not know you?
I am Lindsay Barnett. I'm the CEO of Playground Productions. And more interestingly, we bought the rights to the Backyard Sports franchise. So that's what we've been doing, is bringing back my childhood favorite games and maybe some of the games that you liked as a kid.
That's incredible. And I definitely want to get there. It's incredibly interesting, but I want to start with Lindsay.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's so much of your life right now is on Backyard Sports, and we've been friends for a couple months now, and you are always on the go. But I want to talk first about the woman behind Playground Productions.
Yeah, sure.
So where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Highland Park, represent. We can cut that. Strong start.
I hope I say whenever I say we're going to cut that, like I do not cut
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, good.
I grew up in Chicago in the suburbs in Highland Park, which was actually the best. It does connect to sports because that's where all the Chicago Bulls in the 90s lived, was in Highland Park. So I just kind of you had that energy around you, that winning Bulls energy. And it made me just a diehard sports fan from birth.
Your neighbor was Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What's he like?
Well, I only met him one time. I went to summer camp with his daughter and I was 4 or 5 years old. And he came by the pool to say hi to, his daughter. And he was like, "Hi, ladies." And I was like, "Where are the ladies?"
That's incredible.
That's my Michael Jordan story.
And so take me through your path. So you're born and raised next to Michael Jordan. Tell me, what were you like in middle school? Where'd you go to college?
Yeah. I mean, so I grew up in Highland Park around a big family. We had all my cousins around us. I have an older brother. So close with my mom and dad. We joke they didn't fully cut the umbilical cord between my mom and me. And yeah, it's just been, it was honestly such an idyllic childhood. And it's such an inspiration for everything that I kind of do now. But it really is there was such a joy of childhood. We really were just playing. I was playing with my brother and my cousins, and we just played a ton of sports. And yeah, it was just great.
So you've always been a sports person?
Yeah. Yes. But it was funny. I grew up kind of doing everything. It was definitely one of those families where it was try something. You just don't know what you're going to be good at or not, or what you're going to fall in love with. And for me, because probably, I grew up by Michael Jordan, I just fell in love with basketball. But my dad was a tennis player. My brother followed in that footsteps also was a tennis player. And I was like, I'm going to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
My mom was a dancer, and I tried doing dance. That lasted not very long.
Okay. And you said you're basically attached to the hip with your mom.
Yeah.
But high school. You want to go to a party, or you need $20 to go to the movies.
Never had a fight with my mom. That is this crazy. Whatever the question is, it was
that's not where I was going with it.
Okay, go ahead.
No, that's not where I was going with it.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Shout out, what's your mom's name?
Nancy Barnett.
Shout out Nancy Barnett. Maybe she'll be our next guest. Yeah. But you want to go to a party.
Okay.
Who was the judge, jury, and executioner? Was it mom or dad?
I think That it was like a house where both of them were really like there's a team. I don't really like remember one or the other being, more judge, jury, or executioner.
Executioner is kind of dark.
That's really, I hope not.
Yeah, that was a dark way to put it. But I mean, for me, if my dad would say yes to everything, I'd be like, Dad, I want to go to this party. I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. But then it was Mom who I had to get approval for. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think if you ask my dad this question, he will say, my mom is the boss.
Oh my gosh, I love your mom already. Amazing. Okay, so then you go to school.
Yeah.
Congratulations on graduating. I assume, did you graduate?
Yes, I did.
I
was like a, type A good student. So one of those kids.
Yes, that definitely fits. And then what'd you do when you graduated?
So I went to Northwestern. I studied radio, TV, film, and then I got a minor in interactive arts and entertainment, which is animation. So yeah, exactly. Wow. It's almost as if I kind of knew. And it was funny because like when you get to film school, they ask you about like your favorite movies. And mine was always like, I was always like Snoopy, like any Peanuts movie. Those are my favorites from like, that's what inspires me. And I think it was probably like okay, well, we were expecting like a Oscar winning answer. I was like, no, that's the best franchise ever.
It is pretty good.
Inspired a lot.
I can't say I've ever seen a Peanuts episode though. Have you?
I mean, the specials.
The specials. Like, I guess the Christmas special.
Christmas special?
Yeah.
Halloween.
They were the 60s, right? Peanuts?
The Peanuts?
Yeah.
Like late 50s, 60s.
50s, 60s. Okay. I was born in not then.
I wasn't either.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to age myself. I think we're the same age.
Yeah,
so
no, we are. I don't know, maybe you're at a time machine or something. And then you became a teacher.
Yes. So then I got my master's in education and I thought I was going to work at like a Sesame Street and which, all of it's kind of making sense. But I interned at Good Morning America, like right before grad school. And I did like a segment with kids reporting the news and I loved it. And then I got my master's and I really thought I was going to go right back to kind of children's media, but I just loved teaching, like loved teaching so much. And I was like, my job is not done until I teach. Like I need to do that. So, yeah.
And then you went on a show because you're such a phenomenal teacher, right? That's what the internet said.
Yeah. I was I hope my students thought I was a great teacher. I love them and I loved teaching. So yeah, it was during COVID, I had started this math product that was really hands-on materials and we were going to, sell them to schools, but then COVID happened and kids just didn't have computers. They didn't have the ability to learn. So we provided the hands-on tool to them directly so that they could do like flashcards and any type of education that they could get at home.
That's incredible.
So that's kind of how it stemmed, was like, it was originally going to be a product that like we sold wide, but it was hands-on learning and math tools that were really for teachers to kind of create their toolkits. And there was no in-person. So it was something for kids to keep learning. And for my students, a lot of them didn't have computers until Chicago Public Schools got them. So they had something.
Nice. That's incredible. And so you're finishing up teaching. How in the world did you end up from teaching to now being the CEO of Playground Productions? There has to be a story there.
Yeah. I mean, it was really as simple as like during COVID, I'm remote teaching. I'm creating content for my students for the first time. And I'm looking at every piece of media that's out there for kids because just the way that remote teaching and COVID teaching works, I had 32 students and, sometimes you had to be trying to teach all of them at the same time versus in the classroom where you could do stations and other things. So I really just kind of like started to look up like what could a group of students be doing while I was with another group of students. Probably not as interesting to you, but teachers relate to this hardcore. Remote teaching, COVID teaching was very difficult and you had to figure out like a lot of creative things. But I started looking at all the media and what there was, and it just was so adult. It was very violent. It was very mature. a lot of like inappropriate stuff. And I taught second grade and I was like, what happened to the great content that I had, especially like children's gaming? There were a lot of educational games that kids could play on a computer. And I couldn't find a lot of that. So I started thinking about my childhood, which we started by saying how like idyllic and lovely my growing up was. And a lot of that was really just because I had like this joy of being a kid. And now as a teacher, I'm looking at this in like a very joyless time of COVID where we're remote teaching, kids can't see their friends. And I just started to think about like, what if I brought my childhood favorite game back and what happened to it? I guess before it even was bring it back, it was what happened. And it was unfindable. And so that's where, that's where I started kind of putting everything that I had learned in life together. And I was like, I'm going to get the rights to backyard sports. And I wound up, doing the normal searches, unfindable. Then this lawyer was like, you could hire a private investigator. And I was like, well, that's just so cool. Maybe one day I'll be on a podcast and I'll be able to share that story. So yeah, I hired a private investigator. Several months later, I've never met this person. I imagine like Inspector Gadget with like the, tools and whatever. Wound up coming back and sending me an email saying we found these two guys. They are lovely humans and still very much a part of the franchise. And we wound up, 2.5 years later, figuring out a way to bring backyard back.
Incredible story. A lot to unpack. But let's take it from the top. So it sounds like backyard, bringing it back, was born out of a love for your students and teaching. And
Totally.
you saw a gap in the market, right? Business 101. That's what they taught me in business school. Not that they taught me anything else. And there was really nothing filling this. And when people now think of video games, right, it's Grand Theft Auto, Pablo Sanchez anymore. And when we were kids, I remember we talked about this. It was such a huge part of our childhood.
People don't think about it, but this game that's on the screen was originally part of a company called Humongous Entertainment. Shout out to Humongous Entertainment. You guys did an amazing job. I am so blessed to be like the shepherd of this material. But it was an educational company and people don't know that. And because they just created incredibly fun games. But Backyard Sports is a part of a educational series and it really taught kids the rules of sports. So a lot of people learned how to play baseball or football or basketball by playing these games because it's simple point and click movement. And I probably learned a lot about football from playing backyard football. And that's, I'm obsessed with football. So, and it's funny because like even other people on my team were talking about how they learned to read plays from playing backyard football. And it was just so simple and easy. So again, that's the power of what these games were and how educational they were.
Incredible. And for someone who wants to learn how to buy a company, how do you even start? How do you do that?
I mean, I don't even know how I can give like great advice on this because the funny thing is like, I think you just have to be really passionate about what you want to do and what your goal is. And they always talk about like, for those who can't teach. I like believe in that absolutely the opposite. Oh. I'm like, for those who can do everything, those are the ones who teach. And, it was like starting a company is running. I ran a classroom of 32 kids and they had all sorts of different needs. You had a budget. As a teacher, you have to like be organized and run something. And in some ways, running a company is actually a lot easier to me than running a full classroom. It came really naturally, I guess. But I think teaching was the best way to learn how to be a business operator.
One thing you said in there stuck out to me. You said 2.5 years later, you had Playground Productions.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like a long time.
It is a long time, but I really saw where this was going. And I think that's like, people always are talking about companies at the like, let's talk about all the success when it happens. And they don't really talk about all the hard work it takes to get there. And this was a journey. It took a long time and it still is a lot of hard work to bring it back. But like, if you see where it's going, it just makes it so much more rewarding and worth it. And, yeah, I'm having like the best time of my life doing this.
Energy around it is just infectious. It literally, the way you talk about backyard and launching and just the way it literally inspires
Thank
me
you.
so much. You have so much energy. Were you always like this?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like, I just always was like, you know, talkative and whatever. It's funny because I always say like the things that make it all like make sense now. Anybody who like grew up with me was like, you know, I was like doodling, making like, you know, cartoons on the side of my papers or doing funny voices. And, you know, I did like some theater stuff later. Like it all has come together and culminated into exactly this. But yeah, I mean, I just was like an energetic type A type of kid who like was like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're all gathering around and playing. Like, let's go.
Come on, guy. Come on, Michael Jordan, my neighbor.
Yeah,
Come
well,
on.
we weren't like that close neighbor. Although I am a sneakerhead and, you know.
I love it. So now you have Playground Productions,
Yes.
which owns Backyard Sports.
Yes.
What do you do? Like, okay, now you own the IP, but now you need to go and make a video game.
Yeah. So this is actually, it's really interesting. So when I got the rights, I did not know that like a game like this, a classic title, could be brought back. We have zero source code. Everything that is being brought back from 1997 to 2002, we have 6 games coming, is all through CD-ROM hacking. So I found an incredible developer in a company called Megacat, and they have been ROM hacking. And then they also hired a bunch of like the biggest hackers of this game who had been doing it like and posting about it on Reddit for many years. Some of the streamers who've been streaming it, they hired them, brought them in the team, and that's how we have this game back.
Why is there no source code from the original
That
games?
is a great question, and we might have to bring the private investigator back to answer that.
Yeah.
It is like, it's so sad when people are asking about like, could we have, you know, this or that changed? We can't because we don't have the source code for like 1997 and all those titles. Luckily, we're building a new game from the ground up. But yeah, I mean, we would be able to do a lot more if we had that source code.
Right. So what we're watching right now, this was entirely built from scratch.
This is entirely hacked.
Entirely hacked.
Yes.
That's incredible.
We just legally hacked it.
You legally hacked it,
Yeah.
and it literally looks exactly the same.
It is the exact same game. If you notice in the corner, there's like a little skip button.
Yeah.
That's like basically the only difference that skips through some of the play. So if you wanted to like skip so they walk up to the plate quicker, you could skip that. But otherwise, it's the same game.
And so now you own the rights and you're the CEO. How do you think about the product roadmap? Because you could go so many different directions. And I know that executives, you have to prioritize. So how did you prioritize?
So we have to kind of remember where the game started, which was video gaming and computer games. And so that has been the priority, is making incredible games. So we started by, once I knew we could bring back a classic title, I was like, well, I think if I was a like long-term video game executive, I probably wouldn't have made this decision to bring 6 of them back at the same time. But I'm actually really happy I did, because the naivete has led to like fans really getting to reconnect with their childhood, and like bringing a lot of happiness to people, which is like ultimately great. So yeah, we have Backyard Baseball 97, Backyard Soccer 98, Football 99, Baseball 01, Basketball 01, and Hockey 02 are all coming back to modern devices. So they used to be CD-ROM. Now they're coming back to mobile and PC.
Insane. What's the timeline for that?
It'll be all this year.
All this in 2025, all of that?
Yeah, I think this is again, like, I just think that if I had more experience, I probably wouldn't do it, but we are committed to our word. So it's all coming back.
Yeah. You certainly do not, you don't love sleep, do you?
No, I do not. I think an energy drink probably should sponsor me.
Do you drink caffeine?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. That's my vice.
I can't even imagine.
But
yes,
all of that, has been so exciting to bring these games back, because it's just building the excitement, because we are in production on an entirely new Backyard Sports title. And so, it's been incredible, because now fans who loved this as kids get to re-experience it. they get to introduce it to their kids, to nieces, nephews, or even their students. And it's just an incredible buildup to what we have coming next.
Are we allowed to ask what's coming next?
All I can say is there's a backyard sports title that is deep in production and will be coming out next year.
And it is brand new, has never been made before.
Brand new, building from the ground up with MegaCat Studios. And all the characters that you know and love will be returning.
Wow.
So,
can I guess?
You can guess. I will have no reaction.
Have no reaction. This is going to be your test. You can look at the camera.
I'm going to look at the camera just to make sure. I have a permagrin.
Okay, well, I'm just being logical here. Mm-hmm. There's baseball, soccer, basketball, hockey, football. So I would assume it would be another sport. Don't say anything. What sport is missing? I'll say golf. And I hope I'm right. And also I hope I'm wrong, because whatever it is, it's going to be amazing.
Do you have a favorite?
My favorite unequivocally was backyard baseball.
Okay.
So me and my best friend in elementary school, his name is Alex Schuster. I have to shout him out.
Shout out to Alex Schuster.
I have to shout him out because in elementary school, I would go to Alex's house on the weekends, and all night we would stay up and play backyard baseball. And we would switch off playing.
It's one of my favorite things, because when I talk to like millennials who grew up playing these games, they just have really positive memories about it. And it's interesting because like our fan base is split. It's 50-50 boys and girls, or men and women, which is not the case for most sports games. But because it was like a great game for families to play together and brothers and sisters, and there was also people got it in their cereal boxes as a free game. So people just have loved it. And so it is awesome that like when people are reaching out, it's moms, it's dads, people who don't have kids yet, like us, who are just, love it themselves. So, yeah.
And what is the demographic now age of people who are playing?
No, it's a great question. So, we definitely have like two primary players right now. We have our millennial original fans. Yep. We're all playing. And especially when it was on Steam, it launched on Steam for PC. That was mostly millennials because it's a more millennial gaming platform. Now, as of 2 weeks ago, we launched on mobile. And now all of a sudden we have a ton of kids playing on their iPads. And that's been so fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't believe you have 6 games coming out. That blows my mind.
Technically 7.
7, excuse me. 6 more, right. My bad. And so what has been the hardest part of relaunching this franchise?
I mean, I truly am like, you probably can tell that I'm just like an optimist, and I just love what I'm doing so much that, I think like the hardest parts are also the most rewarding ones when you're finished. Mm-hmm. And so, it's like, oh, can we bring these games back that don't have source code? Now we've brought some of them back, and then you get to see how people respond. And it just goes from being really difficult to being super rewarding. So we're kind of, grinding through all of those things. But yeah, I mean, the hard part, I think, is always I think the hardest part is that people love this franchise so much, and there is a pressure to deliver to their, like, how much they love this franchise, to bring something back to them that they really love. Luckily, like, our team is made up of just like the biggest backyard sports fans. So, but that's always a hard part.
Yeah. That makes sense. And have you thought about partnerships and growing the game now?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of exciting partnerships I can't talk about, but we do have a lot of exciting partnerships. It's just great because what I look at it from a more broad standpoint is I look at things as like, where is quality for families? And I use the Peanuts as a comp a lot of like how they've constructed their business. That's like, my grandparents are big Snoopy fans, and they read the comics and they mean something different to them. When I was a little kid, like, it meant something different to me. And so I look at like when I see their products on consumer goods, their brand on consumer goods, it's just high quality. And so we're kind of following that of like, if you walk into an aisle and you see food, you want the best item to have backyard on it. You walk in and you see like different merch, you want it to be good, high quality merch. That's how we think about it.
No, it's a good point. It's every time someone sees your brand, they're having an association. So how can that be premium?
Yes.
And positive.
And, you have to balance too of like, there's premium for millennial, which is sometimes more streetwear. It can be a higher price point. And then there's premium for kids, which is like more accessible. And we try to have, we try to have both.
Totally. And so when Backyard Baseball launched on mobile, I texted you and I said, can you play offline? I am flying to Europe and I'm going to play it my entire flight. And you said, yes, thank God. Question, what difficulty do you play on?
I play on hard mode.
You have to.
Hard mode, no swing spot.
Can I say
Pitch locator.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Just like a very selfish one.
Yeah.
Someday, can you make an expert level even harder than hard?
It's a great question because that is part of what we're doing for our new game that we're building. Because we know millennials are so important and we don't want to just make it where it's in the box of like, you have to be, 5 to 11 to play this game. So we are having, it is truly like the same game that people love. And then you kind of work your way up to being able to play kind of each level of it. So we'll have an easy, medium, hard, and then just like a super gamer mode for this.
Super gamer mode.
So we have to have a super gamer mode that like really feels like if you are a millennial that's playing one of these sports titles, that you can have the greatest experience playing.
Yes. I'm so excited. We're going to sit right here and we're going to do a live pod and we're just going to play Backyard Sports for like 6 hours on a Saturday.
Even quicker, we'll play some of the other ones that have football and baseball.
And speaking of football, I was a kicker.
Yeah.
Can you have like a stud kicker be brought back to backyard football?
Kickers are very important.
They're very important.
They are in the game. And you know what? There's kicking skills are a part of this. Yep. And I think that, a stud kicker in a football game is very necessary.
Let's bring him back.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a group thread with you and Zach.
And yeah.
I'm going to start a group thread with you and Zach, and I'm going to petition to bring in a kicker.
Zach is now our director of ops, and he was the quarterback at Northwestern. That's how we met, and they're friends.
Yes, that is Zach for the audience. That was bad, bad podcasting. Thank you for doing that.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
No, that's amazing. Okay, so the roadmap it sounds like it's set.
It is set. But the thing is, it's set for now, and there's so much more. This is a franchise that is extending beyond gaming. So, when we think about TV and film, there could be some things in the works.
The Pablo Sanchez show. You never know. One thing, a trend that we've all seen in gaming is the freemium version where it's free and then you have to pay money to buy Pablo Sanchez in a new outfit. Are you guys staying away from that? Yes. I know you guys just launched $4.99. Personally, I love it because I bought the game. I was like, oh, $5, no brainer. Yeah. Purchase. And then there wasn't like, hey, pay 99 cents to get this more stuff. Just that annoying stuff. How do you feel about that?
So it's funny because there isn't a roadmap comp of another company that's doing something like this that we can look at and be like, oh, they did that well. So we're in some ways like trusting our gut and making decisions, which, you have to do. And I went back to like putting my teacher hat on and just was thinking about how annoying it was when there's like, oh, if you'd have to buy Pablo from the bench, like how yucky that experience would be. Or like if you could pay a ton and like buy yourself the win. That's not what the Backyard brand is about. Backyard is about kids having fun and playing. And I thought, especially for these retro titles, I wanted people to have the experience that they had when they were kids, which originally the game was like $30. I was like, we're not doing $30. We're doing $5 and we're going to do no ads, no microtransactions, no data tracking, and have it be offline. And it was that was a total risk because it's not the most lucrative way to bring a game back. But again, going back to like the trust of the consumer, I really wanted people to know that's who we are as a company. Like I'm a teacher by nature. I want to protect kids. I want to protect whoever's playing, and I don't want to take advantage of them. So that's our ethos, and that's how it is.
That's the clip of the podcast right there. That was beautiful. It just ties in everything. It ties in you as a teacher, the mission of Backyard. That was literally my next question is, what is the mission? And I think you just summarized it.
So I really love this, like growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, there was this thing that was like, there's nothing better to be than a kid. And that was how I explained life in my childhood. It was like, the best job in the world is being a kid. And somewhere that got lost. And it was like, we got to grow up kids faster. And I just was like, if I could bring a little bit of that joy back to like, just be a kid and have fun. And it's so helpful that like these incredible millennials like you who like grew up playing the game and now can be like, Pablo Sanchez is so cool. Like he's a cool athlete. Like that's helpful for kids to be like, or my favorite athlete who's talking about this or wearing a Pablo Sanchez jersey is all of a sudden like it gives like a validity and excitement to this brand. And I think that's like an awesome thing for kids because it is like a beautiful brand.
Speaking of, tell me about Travis Kelce,
Yeah.
his involvement.
Travis and Jason are big fans of the brand. I love Travis and Jason. It is so funny because they went on their podcast and they went and talked about how this was backyard baseball and backyard football were their favorite games. And Jason wanted to go and buy the rights to bring them back. And a bunch of people that were like my closest friends sent me this. And they were like, this is so exciting. Jason and Travis are talking about this on the pod. And I was like, I haven't closed the deal yet. And this is really stressful for me. So I wound up closing the deal. And then I wound up, we connected later. But no, they're just big fans of it. And I hope we can find something for them to do.
I'm sure you will. Didn't he wear a Pablo Sanchez hat or something at a game? Or maybe those are your incredible social media team's Photoshop skills.
No, I don't. Jason and Travis, they definitely have hats. I don't know if they've worn, but Baker Mayfield, he wore a Pablo Sanchez jersey, and I think he had the greatest game of his career. We call it the Power of Pablo, and it is truly like this kid is magical because anytime a professional athlete talks about Pablo, wears Pablo, something incredible happens to them. So Baker wears it. I think he had 5 touchdowns. He won so many people's fantasy football after like that. It was like the last week of fantasy and people were like, thank you to Pablo Sanchez.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. used a Pablo Sanchez bat during Players Weekend last year. Homered.
Yes.
It was like 421 feet homer. Power of Pablo.
Incredible. And tell me more about being a female CEO in a somewhat male-dominated, I would assume, field of sports.
Yeah.
How's that
Sports
been?
and gaming.
Sports and gaming. Yeah. I assume that's super male-dominated.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, again, like just because the optimist in me and like how, just my parents are, like they were always like, you can kind of do anything and they never put the roadblocks up. I take these things and like look at them as a positive approach. So when I walk into a room, and most likely, and most of the time, I am the only girl in the room, I look at it and I'm like, well, I'll be the most memorable if I can do my job, because there's all the other men. They will definitely remember the one girl that's in every room. And so that's kind of how I've been using it to my advantage of like just leaning in and making sure like, oh, wait, this could actually be an advantage because you can be more memorable.
That's such a positive. That's such a positive way to look at it.
Yeah.
You are such an optimist.
I definitely am. But that's, it's like there's a huge movement in sports. And like, that's probably why I love these games so much is like, they were so ahead of its time. 15 boys, 15 girls, equal playing ability. The Sunny Day, the main broadcaster, is a girl. And like, even if you looked at this game, you're like, oh, it's right there. But I don't know. I just look at it and I'm like, and it's worked. It has definitely worked where like you walk in to the gaming conference and you're the only girl and, people are like, oh, what's she doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm the CEO of Playground. Yeah. What's she doing here? It's like, what are you doing here? Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, also I just like love sports. So it's like, it's so fun for me, just like be at all the sports events.
So the team is growing, right? You have big plans, 6 more titles coming out, a brand new unreleased one. Can you just tell me about how do you build a team to do something like this?
Oh my gosh. My team is like, they're just as crazy as me, I think. So our chief product officer, Chris Waters, is like, I am so happy that like he joined me and trusted this teacher, Chicago public school. Like, he talks about how I'm crazy. I'm like, Chris, you joined a Chicago public school teacher who had no background in bringing a video game back. And you were like, after running, he worked at Stupid Buddy Studios, which is Seth Green's company. I'm like, and you decided that you wanted to come and work with me? Like, you were like, this is a good idea. He had not grown up playing the games. He just like believed in my vision. And I'm like, that's nuts. But he came on and he is just an expert in animation. He's just making everything look so beautiful. He just has such a great product design standpoint and like brings things to life in a way that I haven't seen. He's just an incredible teammate to have along this. And then, of course, like it grew. A friend of mine who's an incredible comedy writer, he was in here earlier and then he left, stormed out. But he is a comedy writer and grew up playing these games. And I really wanted our social media to be different. I wanted it to be funny and speak like the brand. And I just knew, even though he'd never run social media before, I knew he could do an incredible job because he's a comedy writer and he's hilarious. And people talk about our social media all the time. I'm like, yep, Teddy McDonald. That guy knows how to write incredible stuff and edit and do everything. And he is now writing our video game. And he was like, a lot of the dialogue for it. And he was like, that was not in my, like, he had no idea that was ever going to be where his life was taking him.
Yeah.
And then we brought, our buddy Zach Oliver on, and he's our director of ops. He's the adult on our team. Yeah. He's the one that like makes sure things actually get done.
Yeah. I can only imagine with you guys, you're so high energy, just running around. We need Zach. Zach's high energy too,
Zach's high energy, but in comparison, he is.
To keep things a little more, maybe serious is the wrong word because you're serious.
No, he's like 1 Celsius or 2 Celsius off from me.
There you go. That's the perfect way to put it. That's the perfect way to put it. And he's in Texas now, right?
He's moving to Chicago.
No way.
He's en route right now. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're headquartered in Chicago, and we do a lot of our animation in LA, but a lot of the other stuff is done in between the Midwest and in Pittsburgh for our gaming studio.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to Chicago for wedding this summer. We're gonna hang out. I'm gonna hit you guys up. Okay. Amazing. What else? What have we not covered? I mean, I feel like we've gone through everything. To end, we'll do a speed round.
Yeah.
We'll ask you a question.
Ask me anything. I mean, no, I think we've covered quite a bit of backyard. So, and in life.
We definitely have. But no, let's go into the speed round.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and then you just give me a one-word answer.
Great.
Favorite original game?
Favorite original game?
Original backyard game.
Okay. I was like, okay, classic title.
Classic title that you have not made because that's not fair.
Got it. I just had to make sure the rules of the game were clear.
Right? It's super fair.
Backyard Baseball 1997 made me fall in love with the brand. And so to me, that is always going to be in the hierarchy of like, that's the game that kicked off the whole franchise. That's where everybody fell in love with these characters. So Backyard 97, baseball.
Okay. What's one sport that you wish was in Backyard?
I was a tennis player in high school. So I would have loved to see tennis in the games. And they never did tennis. They never did golf either, which I think would be super fun.
Would Backyard ever do a Wii collab? Because you kind of brought Backyard back, so maybe you can bring the Wii back.
I would love to do something that like feels interactive.
Yeah.
Feels like people can get up and play it. So that stuff is just so cool. Anything that's getting kids or adults to like actually feel like they're playing something, there's a great synergy between that. That was not a one-word answer.
It was close enough.
Sorry.
Favorite Backyard athlete?
I mean, Pablo. But outside of Pablo?
Outside of Pablo.
Keisha's
good.
Keisha is, I think she is so underrated because I think she's right up there with Pablo. She is so good.
She's so good.
And I think it's like Pablo and then right under Keisha.
Yep. Yeah, God, they're just both so good. Celebrity that you've brought back to the franchise, because for those who don't know, you've had to go out and get everyone to sign back on. I think this is worth a quick tangent.
This probably is worth a more than a one-word answer. Yeah, so part of the reason, Backyard 97, baseball 97, and soccer 98 don't have any professional players in it or any leagues. So anything that is a title that came after, we have to get the rights back for all of the professional players and the leagues. And so if they decide to not come back to the game, we have to figure out a way without source code to strip them out of it. So it's all like pretty difficult process. And yeah, I mean, for me, I there's so many that I just love that are coming back. But for me, I think like Jerry Rice was such a huge one to like be coming back. Jerry Rice and Barry Sanders, like in football, those, I feel like that's where I fell in love with football and like really learned the rules and learned everything. And those were my go-to guys on the team. Like, yeah.
Kind of a vibe shift here, but summarize Los Angeles and Chicago in one word.
Chicago, best.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's GOAT. I just love Chicago. Chicago through and through. You can tell from my accent. But no, I love Chicago. Chicago's my backyard. That's my home. And like, obviously I was a Chicago public school teacher. I grew up in there. They have the best sports teams. I mean, the Bulls, Michael Jordan. It's just amazing, right?
And then Los Angeles in one word.
Los Angeles, I'm having fun here. It's fun. You know what? I have great friends in LA, and it's definitely like a place where I feel like I'm dreaming really big and people are like, yeah, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
And that's really validating. And like, I just have found a great group here who are all kind of, you know, inspiring me to like keep going and pushing more and more. But it's not Chicago. It's not Chicago.
Fair.
The food is not as good.
For context,
the weather is great though.
It is great. It is great. No, Chicago slaps. For context on this one, you work harder and travel more than just about any human being I know, which is a humongous compliment.
Thank you.
How many days out of the 2025 do you think you'll be on the go?
I mean, I feel like it's probably an easier question to be like, how many am I going to be staying in one place?
Fair.
I mean, it's just between every major sporting event that's like a big event. Backyard is normally there. We're at Super Bowl, we're at All-Star, we're, you know, going to be at All-Star basketball, All-Star baseball. And that stuff is like incredibly fun for me to do. And then every big gaming event, the Gaming Developers Conference, and like we're everywhere. So I can't really answer that well, but you know, I'm just on the go, but it's fun. And I always make sure, because Chicago is my home base. So I always just kind of make sure with all the travel, I'm always touching base there, seeing my family, and then going on my adventures. Describe
one word being the CEO.
I'm so bad at one word. Go ahead.
Of the Backyard franchise.
In honor. Honoring. Honor. Yeah. One of those. It's just like an honor to bring back this franchise. Like, I feel like this was my favorite brand as a kid, and I get to do this. I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. It's like crazy.
What's the hardest part about being a CEO?
Just living up to expectations. Yeah. I just want it to be great for everybody. But we're going to do everything to make sure that it's great. It's all independently, you know, it's being independently made.
Yep.
So really, I'm one of those people who would rather be like, it's my fault if it doesn't go well, but I know that I can do everything to make it great. So that's kind of like, I know that with captaining the ship of it, like I can at least trust the vision that this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of love in making this game.
Right.
And the franchise. One word.
No, you're
oh my gosh, I'm so bad at one word.
Next one, describe your team, the Backyard team.
The best.
The best.
The best team.
You know why I love you? You are so, like, you just go all in everything. You know what I mean? You just like, you are so 100%, like, team's the best and everything's, and I think I'm not calling you delusional in any way when I say this, but to be a CEO and bring back a dead sports franchise, you got to be a little bit delusional.
No, it's funny because like you know, when people are like, oh, if you say it, like you're going to jinx it. I'm kind of like, say it out loud, because I think if you say it, one, you have to like, you know, you've put it out there and you're manifesting it, that it could happen. And who would have thought any of this, like bringing back a franchise from almost 30 years ago. But here we are.
Here we are. Last question.
Yeah.
What is next for Lindsay Barnett?
Well, we're going to bring all of these games back. So that's 7 in total. might be extending some things in that you could watch. And there's a little,
Teaser.
and you'll be able to definitely you'll be seeing this, wearing it, playing in your own backyard with maybe some backyard stuff. So all of that. And then, in the process, just making sure I'm just keep having fun doing it.
That's amazing.
And we are.
You definitely are. You're crushing it. Thank you for your service. And for those who want to follow along you and Backyard, where can they find you?
Backyard Sports Official.
Backyard Sports Official. I wonder who has Backyard Sports.
I did. I messed it up. I had it, and then we didn't expect the Backyard Sports Official to go viral so fast. And I couldn't transfer it over fast enough. We had to get Backyard Sports, and somebody found the Backyard Sports Official account, which we were testing out prior to launching. We started testing it, and then a couple of internet sleuths found it, and including Barstool, and they picked it up, and in really, really early on, it blew up before I transferred the account. And then it was Backyard Sports Official is kind of what everybody's tagging us as. Fascinating.
But you still have at Backyard Sports.
I have at Backyard Sports.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could do something with that someday.
It's now become our lore. Well, it was then, once it gets picked up in media, it's tagged as Backyard Sports Official. Mm-hmm. So I'm we are who we are. That's hilarious. It was so stressful. I don't work. There's one day of the year that I really take off, which is my birthday. I'm a big birthday girl. Love. I celebrate all of August.
When's your birthday?
It's August.
Just general August.
General August. Oh August 13th. Wow. That was a very California thing.
It was? It's good. What are you doing this year?
Well, I celebrated birthday month. So I do something fun every day.
Every day for 30 days. 31 days.
Yeah,
30 days.
31 days.
31 days.
Don't forget that extra day.
Yeah, don't forget that extra day.
No, you just do fun stuff. I do no gifts for my birthday, but instead I do things with friends. So it's a dinner with this friend, or I'll go shopping with my grandma, or do something where it feels more, fun between your friends and family. Yeah. So anyways, I take off my birthday, and that's the day that it blew up. And I was oh my gosh, we got to transfer the account.
Happy birthday to you.
I know, it's the greatest birthday present.
Yeah.
I was my phone kept ringing and dinging, and I was oh, it's probably just people wishing me happy birthday. And it was actually the Barstool account being boom, boom, boom.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we wrap, this has been awesome. Anything else? Any wisdom or anything to impart before we go? This has been incredible.
Oh my gosh. I had so much fun. This is what I love about LA. I get to meet people like you, and it just is so much fun and inspiring. So thank you for having me. No, I got nothing else left. I'll come back when there's more.
Every game launch, we'll come back and we'll do a new pod, and it'll just get better.
So many times. Yes. I'll just keep coming back.
I love it. Awesome. Lindsay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Did the game end? Wait, did we time this out at the game end?
Oh my God, it did. Wait, this is actually important.
Oh, it's in the 8th inning.
Are there only 8 innings?
I don't know if I put it on 6 or 9. Anyways,
we're close.
We're close.
We did a good job.
We're going to.
Perfect. Bye, team.
Bye.